Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, September 9th, and Mizzou football is 2-0. Kenny, Payton, I'm starting the episode with a stat. Shout out PFF, our new co-conspirators, our new colleagues. The Believe PFF partnership will change the face of podcasting. But shout out PFF, they have this stat. Missouri, the first FBS team since 2019 to begin the year with 2 shutouts. That is a wild stat to think because, you have a lot of teams similar to Mizzou that play to quote unquote cupcake teams to start the seasons. I'm amazed that hasn't happened since 2019. And frankly, I want to spin zone that as a positive. Mizzou beat Buffalo 38-0. They've had 2 straight shutouts. For all of the questions that we went into this season with about this team's defense, to me, I don't really care who you play. I think 2 shutouts is a pretty damn good statement to make to start the year. And that is how I'm opening the show. Shout out Mizzou for that stat.
Yeah, you'd hit the nail on the head, Knowlton. I mean, that the last team to do it was, it doesn't say in the tweet, but it was Wisconsin actually in 2019 to do it. I believe that team went to the Rose Bowl. So
yes, they did. They lost
if
to
Mizzou is on a similar trajectory, I mean, that's a playoff team. So, and like you said, Knowlton, I don't care who you play. Pitching 2 shutouts tells you something. No matter who you're playing, they've held both opposing QBs well under 100 yards through the air. That's not nothing. I don't care who you're playing. Like you said, that's huge, especially as it being with a new coordinator, Corey Batoon, a lot of new transfers. That is absolutely a huge, huge deal earlier in the year.
Definitely a statement to the depth on the defense, too. One of the things that they mentioned a couple times on the broadcast is that they were just kind of blown away with some of these entire line changes where all of the second stringers came into the game all at once, sometimes on the defense. Just kind of shows you how many guys are available and ready to play in those games. And that wasn't just late into the game. That wasn't just the third and fourth quarter. You saw a lot of these guys take their opportunities in the first half and especially late into the second.
Yeah, Mizzou hockey is smiling watching that game, making full line changes, full personnel changes. Yeah, it was really, really impressive. So Mizzou beats Buffalo 38-0. I mean, let's get into it. Just the thick of the game. I know Kenny, I believe you were able to watch most of it. Payton watched the replay. I was watching the highlights. I mean, just general thoughts. I'll just open up the floor, Payton. I think obviously we should talk about Eddie Kelly too. I know you were going to lead with that. A member of this Mizzou defense, the many lines that it has, a pretty nice moment, for him coming out representing his mom.
Yeah, Eddie Kelly absolutely, I think, should be maybe the first thing to touch on because, I mean, we didn't know this until Drinkwitz told the media after the game. Eddie Kelly's mother passed away earlier in the week, just this past Wednesday night. I mean, that was... he had Thursday and Friday to process it, and then he had a game on Saturday. And Eddie Kelly went out, and by the way, he was pretty disruptive in his snaps, mind you. So he played pretty well. Everyone played well on that defense, but he in particular, I noticed a few times. So that is a very, very special thing to see Eddie Kelly like out there with the brotherhood. Theo Wease mentioned it after the game in the post-game interview. Mizzou, he said the first thing, like when they asked him what's special about the team, is the brotherhood. And I think something like that shows it. Drinkwitz said, y'all got to watch something special tonight for our defense to play like that for Eddie. The Columbia Missourian, the student-run paper had a great, very powerful photo of him kneeling in the end zone, looking up to the sky. Just very powerful all around. My heart goes out to Eddie Kelly. I'm very glad he was able to play and play well because I cannot even imagine what he's going through right now.
Definitely, yeah. It speaks to the resilience of Eddie and just a lot of the guys around him as well. You got to imagine a lot of those guys in the locker room were playing for him and playing for each other. And it goes back to what Payton mentioned in that full quote from in the post game there, right on the field. He was like, "We play for each other," is what Theo said. I think you've seen that a lot over the last 2 years. Going back to even in the 2022 season, there were some hiccups maybe on that side of the ball, but going into these last 2 years, you see these guys, you don't see anyone calling each other out. They give props to each other. They'll take responsibility for each other, and they just move together. And when there's something, this serious, it just speaks to, how much everyone cares about each other and going out there and just putting on for Eddie and for his mom. And one of the biggest things you've seen from athletes too is, something, tragic happens in a family with a family like this, Eddie's mom probably made thousands of sacrifices for him to play football, and probably just to go out there and play for her was probably one of the biggest things he probably could have done. And so, he did that and he got through that. And it kind of takes me back to something in 2022 as well. When Chad Bailey, I think he was coming off an injury before the Vanderbilt game, and he got some news that his friend Terry Petrie, who actually played for Mizzou, passed away. And his big thing, he left for 2 days, came back, and he played for him. I think that's just one of the big things that you've kind of seen from Mizzou is when there are these kind of tragic things in their personal lives and things off the field, these guys rally behind each other and put on and make sure that they come out victorious. And it's just a bigger thing for all of them all together.
Yeah, well said from both you guys. And credit, you mentioned the photo, Payton. Olivia Maiska took that photo for the Columbia Missourian. So just really, really great work to capture that moment. And I think you guys both said it well. I mean, the only thing I'll add, I think of Luke Bauer earlier in week one. His father passed away, and you could see the team getting hyped for him on the sideline after he came out and hit a nice punt. And it seems like this team has just really banded together, and it's nice to see that. I mean, I'm sure it's very nice for Eddie Kelly to have just that group of guys supporting him. They're with him every day. They see the ups and downs of his life, no matter what he's going through. And so definitely just a nice, coming together moment for the team. And Theo Wease too, I think I have to give him a lot of credit for just being kind of an ambassador of what this team's culture is. I feel like every time, he gets asked something like this or just about the, kind of mantra of the team, just in a general setting, I feel like he really kind of sets the tone there. And so he seems like a really, really powerful leader to have. But yeah, we are, our thoughts are with, Eddie and his family, and credit to him for playing through it. And we're with them all the way as Mizzou fans, of course. And it's just awesome to see. And like you guys said, I mean, he was part of a really great defense on Saturday. If you guys want to start in the game with on that side of the ball, I mean, what else do you guys notice from Kelly and his squad? I mean, you mentioned the line changes. Corey Flagg had another nice game, 6 tackles. He led the way. Chris McClellan, I noted a sack he had, or I guess it was a half a sack. It was him and Joe Moore laid on. I mean, this is a little head turning for me. I'm really excited to see. Like, I've gone already from nervous to being kind of excited with Boston College coming to town, what we're going to see from this defense against. They've got a pretty intriguing quarterback, but would you guys notice their takeaways on that side of the ball?
I really thought it just about every single level played well. I thought the linebacking group had, like, after they were kind of a standout unit the week before, I thought they had another great game. Flagg, like you mentioned, was the leader in tackles. The D line and the edge rushers have really not been an issue at all. McClellan, in particular, on pass rush, has just been an absolute beast so far. And he's done a good job stuffing a few runs as well. I did notice him in the run game. Zion Young has gotten to the QB a couple times. I don't think he has gotten sacks for it, but he's had QB pressures. Power Mizzou, Gabe DeArmond for Power Mizzou tweeted, Joe Moore had a very, very strong game. He had just 12 total snaps. You see there, though, he was Mizzou's leader on the defensive side of the ball in PFF grade with a 91.7 grade, because I believe he had like 3 QB pressures in 12 snaps, which is very, very, very good. Ja'Kai Lang had a good amount of playing time in this game. There really was not much that I would say needs improvement defensively. There were a lot of penalties in this game, but not many. I can't remember any even being on the defense. So one player, though, I think the player that stood out the most to me was Marvin Burks Jr. He had a great week 1, and I thought he was even better in week 2. He had the interception, which quite frankly was thrown right to him. But I mean, he's not afraid to hit. And I think that is a huge, huge thing. Both him and Joseph Charleston have really they've laid the lumber, for lack of a better term, early in the season here. So I've really liked what I've seen from them back deep. Marvin Burks looks like he could wind up being a star.
People should know too, he's a true sophomore. There was a time where he was committed to Ole Miss, kind of played around with that, and ended up committing to Mizzou. And I mean, he's just been awesome these last 2 years, and it's something to see, like him and Joseph Charleston, someone on his last year of eligibility, and then someone like Marvin Burks, who still has probably a couple more years with the Tigers, if not just one more season after this. And so just seeing, I mean, just someone like Marvin Burks step up into that, it just kind of talks to where we thought the secondary would be, early on in the season. Probably some things you want to iron out. Are you going to see Roche early? We know he had the issues off the field, but no suspensions or anything. He only got 1 snap in this game, but are you going to see depth? Are you going to see guys stand up at those positions when you saw a lot of guys go to the NFL from that secondary? And right now it seems nice. I mean, a couple interceptions in the first 2 games. Just overall, it's been strong play. And I like how you mentioned, Chris McClellan getting that sack. They even mentioned on the broadcast, he's like, this is probably like a new feeling for him because he just doesn't really have many sacks in his NFL career or his college career. So that was probably a cool moment for him to get that half sack.
Yeah, Kenny, you're the PFF guy. I mean, Payton mentioned a couple of the grades. Do you have anything else that stood out on that side of the ball for you from Mizzou defense grades?
We could go to another part of the grades.
No,
oh man, they don't have it. They don't have it. They don't even have it.
Oh, thank God. I just want to throw in one more thing on that side of the ball. I thought, like we mentioned, we think corners might be a weak spot on this team. And look, quite frankly, Buffalo and Murray State do not have the guys to go out and just beat SEC corners one-on-one. But you cannot be anything but thrilled with Toriano Pride and Drayden Norwood so far. Deloach as well. But Drayden Norwood in particular has looked like an absolute bona fide number 1 corner. Yeah,
Buffalo only had
no. Give Marcus Clark his flowers.
He played
grades, 5 snaps.
He actually, I did write one thing down with him in the highlights. He had a really nice tackle on a 3rd down, like toward the end of the game. It didn't matter, like in the grand scheme of things, but it was a nice tackle. So I'll give him some credit for that. Yeah, Buffalo only had 4 guys catch passes. One of them was not their star tight end, Jake Orlando. I know he's very good for the Bulls, but anyway,
and that's great.
Also, Payton, I believe the interception was tipped. I think it was Joe Moore that tipped it at the line, and that's how it went.
Yeah. It wouldn't shock me. I mean, Joe Moore, a 91 pass rush grade in 10 pass rush snaps is stellar. Like that. We mentioned coming into the year, Mizzou rotating their DNs so much last year. They've done that again this year, and it's working just as well. Yeah, he had tipped it at the line, and then it went. I had to rewatch it like twice because I also thought Ogbonna just threw it right to Marvin Burks, but it was, he like tipped it just straight back. It was very weird. It looked like it's just a regular pass, but
I got one question for you guys. Last thing I have on the defense.
Yes.
We talked about a little bit before the season started, but Williams-Nwaneri had 14 snaps in week 1, 0 snaps in week 2. Any surprise there for you guys?
Not really. Mizzou didn't get into its reserves as much as they did against Murray State. Again, it really doesn't bother me much that he's not playing a whole ton right now. I mean, you look at it, like you look at the guys that did play, it's 90% guys you would have expected to have an impact in some form or fashion this year. Like Jalen Marshall is maybe an exception to that. I don't think I expected to see him much, but he got on the field a little bit. Roche had 1 snap. Sam Williams and Jeremiah Beasley got a couple snaps. Other than that, nobody really found the field that I think was unexpected this year. So it doesn't really concern me.
Yeah, I don't know. It almost I look even just into the grades perspective, and at least from 2 games in, it almost looks like it's a pretty hard room to break into, even without, as crazy as that sounds, even without Darius Smith in that defensive end room too. Like there's just a lot of good players here, and I think Williams Nwaneri is probably learning behind him. I think we've talked about it a million times. He's just young. He's playing in a position that requires a lot of physicality, and you know, you have to be big, and he's going to need his year in the weight room. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they redshirt him and then have him on the books for a couple more seasons, and then you're expecting, if this is a year from now and we're still at this point, then you're very concerned. But
then there would be concerns if he's getting like 14 snaps a week.
Yeah, but I think
or less.
I think overall for right now, you're fine. But it is interesting. They cut it down. And I think Drinkwitz also kind of just seems like he's not, this is going to run counter to what you said, Kenny, with the line change things. But I feel like he's kind of just not messing around. He's like, I'm playing the guys who are good, and we're going to, get them going early and often. And that's what has been accomplished. 2 shutouts. I still can't believe no team's ever done that since 2019. That is kind of crazy to me.
Yep.
But credit to Mizzou for that. Offensive side of the ball. I'm curious what you guys thought, just kind of overall. First of all, we had the Luther Burden flu game. He played and then I think that's the first time I've ever seen a player taken out for an illness. Usually it's just they don't play, but Luther Burden not only played, he scored a touchdown. And then Drinkwitz straight up just said we didn't feel like it was worth putting him back in the game, which he was right. Big game for Theo Wease, had a bunch of catches. I thought Brady Cook looked all right. I was getting some text from Payton that ran counter to that. So I'm curious his thoughts on Brady, but had the running backs involved. Nate Noel had a really nice block on Brady Cook, or for Brady Cook, when he flipped into the end zone on that one long touchdown run. But overall, offense thoughts, anything specific stand out?
It's just the offense is a bit weird right now because you can tell, like, watching. I was just box score watching and saw Brady Cook had 6 completions for 26 yards. I was like, what are we doing here? But watching it back, I mean, Brady is missing throws right now. No doubt about it. I remember there was a 3rd and 16 in the second half. He had Daniel Blood wide open and he just missed him. Missed him long, and it wound up being a punt. But really, I mean, watching it, I mean, Brady Cook's deep ball accuracy was much better this week than it was last week. And I think that is a big thing, actually. He didn't hit on many deep ones because, I mean, Marquise Johnson had one that was PI. There was another one, I think it was to Theo Wease, that Theo Wease just didn't come down with when he probably could have. So there's just a couple little things. The offense is just not right. You watch it and it's just a little like out of rhythm, it feels like. And the main thing I think behind that is the penalties. The penalties are absolutely killing this team right now. I mean, they had 10 penalties, I believe, in this game, and a vast majority were just illegal shifts, just holding. I mean, just stupid little things. I mean, in 2022, I mean, the O-line had these awful penalty problems, and they also couldn't block, so it made it even worse. This year, they can at least block. I mean, Armand Membu, it was still great. Tollison, when he's not somehow getting a false start or snap infraction, is blocking very well. Mitchell Walters did not have a very good game. I'm ignoring whatever PFF said. He was not good. Luckily, Mitchell Walters started at right guard. For those that don't know, Drinkwitz said Cameron Johnson just got hurt on Wednesday, and they held him out as a precaution. So he'll be back, thank God. It's just weird because despite all these penalties, despite the pass game being a bit out of sync, Luther Burden's not putting up gaudy numbers like we kind of were hoping he would against these two opponents. They're still moving the ball really well, and they're still scoring points relatively easy. I mean, a couple years ago, if Mizzou played like they did yesterday on offense, they would have probably been sweating that game out a little more, because I don't think they would have had anywhere near 38 points, and Buffalo probably could have hung around in the fourth quarter. This year, though, I mean, the run game has been exceptional. We can touch on that a little in a minute. It's just weird. They got to clean up penalties mostly and just keep Brady Cook in a rhythm.
I got a positive thing to say. Okay, I'll be the good cop.
Yeah.
Theo Wease, come on, 13 receptions for 149 yards. That's 11 and a half per reception. I think that's sixth most is what I saw last time, because we were kind of tracking it through the game, because he did break his own personal best, but that is sixth most in Mizzou history. I think that just speaks to kind of where this team is too on the offensive side of the ball. You lose Luther for the second half. He only had 3 receptions in the first. A couple of pop passes there too. But overall, it's just, this is huge. I think that's really big to see. If one of these guys goes down, you can see that a guy like Payton mentioned earlier, who's kind of like, speaking for a lot of these guys as an ambassador for the team. He's also he can be a wide receiver 1 on an SEC team. And, coming into the season, he wasn't wide receiver 1. It was Luther Burden. But this was just a monster game for Theo Wease, someone who's been around college football for a long time, been around, the Power 5 level for a long time, playing at Oklahoma before this. This is just huge kind of moving forward that you have a guy like this. And we know Theo had a great year last year. There were talks about him going pro. Eventually he came back, and this is just something that you really need to lean on and think about kind of moving forward. Because Theo can go up and get balls, but to stack all these yards, stack all these receptions, kind of just speaks to where this wide receiver room is at. Because you see other guys in there got some catches as well. Mookie Cooper, Marquise Johnson, Josh Manning, who's really taking a step forward right now. So overall, very impressive for Theo Wease, and just where this trajectory of the receiver room is going.
Okay, I have 2 notes with the receiver room. I made it clear. I love Theo Wease. I think he's been so great for this team. Like I touched on when we were talking about Eddie Kelly. Like it feels like he's just such a nice leader, and it makes me happy to see he gets kind of the numbers that he does in this game. And he's also like, I feel like we see Luther Burden in this super versatile role, and like obviously he can do everything. We've known this for years now. I feel like they sometimes use Theo Wease like that too. Like he sometimes has a little bit of a run after catch ability that I think kind of goes a little bit underrated. Maybe not by us, but maybe when we just compare it to Luther Burden. I just think he's incredibly talented. To have him as your wide receiver too, like he's a wide receiver 1 on most Power 5 teams, and to have him, I think as a wide receiver too, I think is awesome. Josh Manning, I'm glad you touched on him. He had that catch and run in the third quarter where he broke a tackle, and I was like, there's some things to like about him with the future. He had 2 catches for 28 yards. So I think I can appreciate that. Payton, I'm gonna go back to what you said. Like, so the vibe, the impression I got from what you were talking about is it almost feels like Mizzou is maybe not necessarily playing with its food, but just kind of still seeming like it's working out some kinks offensively. I mean, is it just penalties, or is it something bigger that should be concerning when they play good teams?
I'm not concerned about when they play good teams, because I think they'll have it all ironed out. If they kind of play like this against a better team, it's not going to look good. Like, quite frankly, I think Theo Wease, like you guys were both saying, was excellent. Outside of that, I wasn't totally blown away by anybody. I think Josh Manning, like you said, has stepped up nicely this year. But the passing game has just kind of felt out of sync. It's just a few things, Brady missing a few throws, that I think come time next week, probably. He's just probably getting in sync, just getting back up to game speed right now more than anything else. The penalties have to be cleaned up. If they do 10 penalties a game, they had 9 penalties against Murray State. If they do, and 10 this week, they have to cut those numbers like by more than half to be good, to be what they want to be this year. I mean, that's unacceptable penalty numbers, and I think Drinkwitz knows that. And I don't think this will be a problem in a few weeks. I think it'll just be totally forgotten. It's just more working out the kinks right now, getting Brady and the passing game in rhythm, cleaning up the penalties more than anything else. I'm really not concerned about it long term.
I will actually add, it was 11 penalties for 80 yards.
Even worse.
5 holdings, 2 false starts, 1 illegal formation, and 2 ineligible receiver downfields.
So, like, all offensive line penalties.
Yes, they actually had no defensive penalties.
That's got to change, man. That is really, really terrible.
Tyler Stevens had a penalty. That's his
Oh,
former team.
no. In the revenge game. He also had the lowest PFF grade in the revenge game.
And Jordan Harris.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, 9 of them.
Kenny, could I make a request? You sort this PFF by the run block stats for a quick second, because one thing jumped out to me was just Armand Membu, but also I'll ask you, Kenny, about I know a guy you've covered in recruiting a little bit, Logan Reichert, down there at left guard, 10 snaps, he had a 69.8 pass block grade. Nice snaps for the youngster. That was just something that popped out to me on PFF. I know you're a fan.
Yeah, I think I was a little caught off guard when I was watching that game, and I kind of looked up from what I was doing, and I saw a guy with goggles on the offensive line. I was like, okay, it's time. I mean, it's time to get some of these backups in there. This is something I think I mentioned that I wanted to see early on is you want to get Logan into a lot of these games and kind of build a spot for him next season if things work out and if he just continues to develop at that position. And those numbers are looking good on PFF kind of moving forward, then definitely someone you want to get more snaps to when you can, but especially when you get an SEC play, it's going to be a little bit harder. So maybe if you get some time late in the Boston College game, pending however that goes, or even Vanderbilt, definitely opportunities to try to get some of these guys in there. I don't think they would ever shift to 2 ranked games. But yeah, there are opportunities there, but this is just good to see early on. And if he doesn't get into a game or many snaps moving forward, it's just kind of looking back on what he's kind of doing and progressing in practice.
Kenny, do you have a take on kind of what Payton was saying? Because I think about this because we learned last year really quick that Mizzou was, Drinkwitz didn't say that they were holding anything back early, and we learned pretty quickly that wasn't the case. Is there a little bit of that here combined with just some, I guess early season mistakes just because you're kind of getting in the swing of things?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was kind of thinking when Payton was saying that. I was like, just kind of goes right to that Kansas State play where Brady just unloads one to Marquise Johnson. It's like there's something more that they're probably going to open up on this playbook, kind of moving forward once they get into some of these Power 4 matchups, especially in the SEC play. So I'm excited for what this week kind of holds and see where this offense moves forward. But these 2 early games, you'll get knocks on it just because those aren't really just premier non-con games. But at the same time, this is a program that isn't USC, it's not LSU, it's not, some of these top schools that play, Power 5 schools in week 1, but it's a team that has some transfers, has some changes, and just needs to kind of get on the same page again and get back to where they were last season.
I would agree. Ed Payton, any other takes on the offense? I have a couple more things I want to run through after that.
I mean, the run game has been excellent this season. I think they need to just stay committed to the Marcus Carroll, Nate Noel tandem. They had them both get 12. They both got 12 carries, I believe, in this one. Yeah. And both did a lot with them. Nate Noel has a little bit of a slip issue, I've noticed. He keeps slipping and sliding a little bit.
Too fast.
For the most part, he's been excellent. I really like just the different dynamics of both of them. I mean, when you need just a power run, Marcus Carroll has run people over like nobody's business early on. So really, really happy with the results from the run game early. Stay committed to that tandem. Stay committed to the committee. Do not let one become a bell cow over the other. They do not need to do that this year. They're both good running backs. Use both of them.
Yeah, I agree with that take. I also just on the running game, I just love how they can use Luther. I mean, he scored on the reverse. That play was just so free once he got the ball. They had the later one where they faked the flip to him and Cook got to keep it. You can tell this team just knows they can do so many things with that. I loved the direct snap too to Nate Noel. That was fun. I think they did that once in the Murray State game too. They gave him a direct snap. I don't know if it worked then, but I love that they try that, or that they can just do all of that stuff. And yeah, I agree with the keep the dual thing, not the bell cow. Kind of with what you were saying, Payton, there was the one play where the only time I got flashbacks watching the highlights was the 4th and 6 when they went for it and there was holding and an interception on the same play. And it was just oh my gosh, I remember watching this, but it's against Florida instead of a meaningless garbage time 4th down against Buffalo. So that was scary. So it's just, I think I'm waiting for, like Kenny said, that home run ball. I'm waiting for that in against Boston College when they just uncork a 70-yard touchdown and you're like, all right, the offense has arrived. But I think it's pretty encouraging overall that you get 2 shutouts and score a lot of points without really that seeming to happen yet. My last thing, and then I have rankings. Blake Craig, 2 field goal attempts that I saw. You're giving a thumbs down. He had a 51-yarder on Saturday.
Missed 2 kicks, Knowlton.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, I didn't see
3.
the second missed. Yeah, that's not good. So we're kind of out on Blake Craig right now.
I don't know if
positive
I'm out. I don't know if I trust him right now. If they need like a 50-yard game winner,
He hit a 50-yarder. Maybe it's
and he missed a 48-yarder, I believe.
But maybe it's a Harrison Mevis thing. It just has to be beyond 50. He's like the same way.
I prefer guys that make more than 66% of their kicks.
That's fair. Missed a 40-yarder, and he actually missed a 52-yarder. So my point is moot anyway.
Yeah.
It's a true soft or redshirt freshman.
Better to miss him then than later.
You give Craig the leg some time. Kenny, did you have I remember you just I got a text from you that just said, I hope a game doesn't come down to his leg.
I said that, but yes.
Was it you?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I thought that was Kenny. All right.
Yeah, I would never say that. One positive spin of it, hit one of his first kickoffs. He hit the upright. That is a very good thing to see, I will admit, because last season there were some worries about getting the ball to the back of the end zone and preventing some of these returns. They did give Blake Craig some opportunities there. So definitely it looks like he has some more leg power behind him. Just need to work on the accuracy kind of moving forward. But that was a slight positive early on in this game.
We should talk AP poll or do we have any final quick takeaways from the game before we did anyone have anything lingering? Nothing.
They didn't play an A+ game and they still won by 38. That's the team you're working with right now. They're that good.
I think as a Mizzou fan, you have to appreciate that. So
yeah.
I think that's worth mentioning.
I got one more thing. Quan Lacey. No, nothing on the specialist side. Quan Lacey got some good run late in this game. Six carries for 27 yards. There were 2 plays that were a little bit, just kind of like a learning experience, especially for a true freshman. He ran out of bounds when they needed the clock to keep rolling at the end of the game, and then he fumbled out of bounds. So just kind of learning experiences there and kind of moving forward. But it looks like he's probably the guy that's in that secondary part of the depth chart that's going to get the most looks, even though Jamal Roberts did have a rushing touchdown.
Him and Jamal Roberts both look good.
No Tavares Jones though.
Yeah, sorry, Kenny. Oh, I had one more note. Drew Pine. He hadn't had an incompletion. It's 13 for 13. It's future QB1 right there. Yeah, 6 for 6, 35 yards. He's
probably the leader in the clubhouse to start next year.
Yeah.
Did he really not throw an incompletion against Murray State either?
No, he was 100% completion percentage. He was.
Wow.
Oh, wait.
Oh, nope, he did.
Oh, it was 10 for 11. Oh, I thought he was perfect.
Looks like you were wrong.
Darn it. Hey, 16 for 17, 117 yards, and that's it. He doesn't have a touchdown, but shout out.
Incorrect.
The 23-year-old sophomore. 23-year-old sophomore, by the way. All right, rankings. We got to talk AP poll because Mizzou is the feeling the wrath of the SEC a little bit. They were ranked 6th, which was awesome. They jumped up 3 spots, and we can talk about why too. They jumped up 3 spots and they're 6th, and they're the 5th highest SEC team because it's Georgia, Texas, Ohio State in the Big Ten's at 3, and then it's Alabama and Ole Miss at rounding off the top 5, and then Mizzou.
Yeah.
And then Tennessee's right behind them at 7.
No one on earth should be shocked that the SEC is like this. Like, I'm telling you, man, any 10-2 SEC team is going to be in the playoff, and they should be in the playoff. It is the best league in the sport, bar none. There is not a second place league that is close to them. Quite frankly, I don't really care that Missouri is the 5th highest SEC team. Seeing Missouri at number 6 is eye-popping. I mean, like, batshit crazy. Like, could you have imagined telling us this 2 years ago that Missouri would be not number 6 in the SEC, number 6 in the country? That is nuts. Number 5 in the SEC, number 6 in the country. I'm overjoyed by that. Like, I'm just super happy to see Missouri is kind of getting the respect they deserve.
Yeah, it's also kind of scary to see that Mizzou would be hosting Tennessee. I think, for most Mizzou fans, I think you should be kind of happy that they're playing Tennessee. You want to take a second shot at Nico's last name, Peyton, after last episode?
Ia Malavia.
Okay. Yeah, but
Ia
Nico
Malavia.
He's
has
good.
been
He's good.
awesome.
He's
Yeah.
really good.
Tennessee looks good.
Tennessee's
Yeah.
I can
good.
admit that now.
Kenny-
They don't play Mizzou this year.
Thank
Kenny,
God.
right
We
now.
don't have to play them.
Kenny, by the way, if you're not watching on the YouTube, we pulled up a college football playoff graphic on what the AP poll would be, or what the playoff would be with the AP poll as it is, and it has Tennessee and Mizzou in the 9-8 game, which, yeah, I don't know. And to run through it,
Wait. Nico only threw for 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Not that good.
he's
Granted, they beat NC State by 41, but
he's really, really, really good. So the playoff, if it were today, which we could start doing this as long as Mizzou's ranked, and that it does feel weird, Peyton, because if it was still the 4-team playoff, I think I would be so excited. But because it's 12 and you're like, they're so like squarely in the playoff, you're kind of like, oh yeah, sure, 6.
well, I think it is exciting because
It is.
being number 6 this early. Like, that means Missouri has a built-in excuse game. Like, if they lose a game, they're still going to make the playoff. Like, there really is. If they go into College Station, which I no longer think they're going to lose to A&M, but if they go into College Station and do not come away with a win, no problem. Handle the rest of your schedule outside of Alabama. You're probably still fine.
So this is to put it into context of how good the SEC is. The top 4 seeds right now are Georgia, number 1, Ohio State, number 2, and they're number 3 in the country. And then it's Miami at 3, they're 10th in the country. And then Utah at 4, and they're 12th in the country. Then you have Texas, who's number 2, but the 5 seed. Alabama, who's number 4 in the 6 seed. Ole Miss is number 5 in the 7 seed. And then Mizzou, 6, 8 seed. Tennessee, 7, 9 seed. All SEC teams.
What do you think a hypothetical line between Texas and Northern Illinois would be?
Yeah, you have Northern Illinois, who beat Notre Dame as the 12 right now. And then Oregon would play
35
Bama.
points.
Yeah, if it's
Yeah,
35
I think it would be
points, I think
35.
I'd take the Longhorns in it.
Yeah. Penn State, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oregon, Texas, or Tennessee, Mizzou. Yeah, Northern Illinois. I mean, we got to talk about that real quick because the Notre Dame losing did help Mizzou. That was crazy scenes.
I think that officially. So for those that probably don't know, Kenny and I are actually kind of pro Notre Dame, like fighting Irish for glory and for fame. Fight. Kenny's now flashing his Syracuse shirt for some reason.
They won.
But
Kyle McCord looks good, Kenny.
He does. But I think that loss, probably kills any chance I have of thinking Marcus Freeman is the guy for Notre Dame. I mean, that gives him home losses to Marshall, Northern Illinois, and Stanford. That's a coaching thing at that point. And for that to be the effort they got after going into College Station and winning probably the only, maybe USC later on, probably the most important game on their schedule, for them to go out and lose to Northern Illinois is flat out inexplicable to me. But that's what it is. Notre Dame is probably toast now. They'd have to run the table to maybe get in. And yeah, that was brutal. Good for Mizzou, though.
Yeah,
I thought Mizzou would end up at 7th in the AP poll. I wasn't expecting them to leapfrog Penn State. Penn State did come out with a win, but Connor Bazelak, former Mizzou Tiger, co-freshman of the year in the SEC in 2020, almost pulled off an upset in Happy Valley. Unfortunately, it did not, but still helped the Tigers, knocked Penn State down to 8th.
Yep. Yeah, that was good. I mean, it was and to put this in the context of Mizzou, and again, it's Murray State and Buffalo, but how important those wins are. A lot of teams were pretty bad, in the top 10 this week. Alabama was up by 2 points at the end of the third quarter against South Florida. Oregon needed 2 special teams touchdowns to beat Boise State. Texas smoked a ranked team, but we can ignore them. Obviously, Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. I mean, some of these teams have looked shaky. And I think there's a fine line now where you've got, to me, it's definitively Georgia, Texas, and Ohio State. And then you kind of bleed into the field a little bit. That's what this week showed me.
Yeah, this week I think I definitely would move. Before this week, I was saying basically it's Georgia, Ohio State, and everyone else. I think I can move Texas into that tier now because I expected them to go in there and beat Michigan. They handled Michigan. I mean, Michigan was basically like a fly, like just buzzing around Texas's face there. I mean, it was really not a close game at all. Michigan's got big issues.
Yeah, they got problems. All right, there's playoff. Dude, I look at the Tennessee's so scary. I almost rather play Alabama than Tennessee.
Dude, Missouri's reward if they somehow get through that vaunted Tennessee team is getting to play Georgia.
Yeah.
In
site game. In
or
Atlanta,
wait, no, that would be the bowl game at that point, so it would be.
But it'd probably be in Atlanta. They'd probably give them the Sugar Bowl and just be a home game for Georgia.
I would almost rather be number 9, like you said, Knowlton, or number 8. I'd rather play Ole Miss or Alabama right now. I think almost.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Isn't it? I mean, were you ever expecting during the season that Mizzou would be ranked higher than Oregon? And would you have ever expected it to be in week 3?
No, definitely not by week 3. Oregon looks horrible.
Oregon has looked real bad. I thought Oregon was probably the 3rd best team in the nation coming into the year, and they have not shown that.
Their quarterback he's got the Kyler Murray, Bryce Young problem. He's too short.
Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah, he's really short. That's what I've heard.
Lefty.
Oof. Yeah, it never works out for QBs. Not that much. Speaking as a lefty. All right. Yeah, that was all I had on Mizzou, but I think we can keep doing. I like keep doing these hypothetical playoffs. We'll keep doing it until Mizzou. I mean, hopefully we're keeping doing it the entire season. Also, Oklahoma State made Arkansas look really good, and that for a while, and that made me mad. I was like, this is
quite honestly, I come out of that game feeling even better about Mizzou's chances against Arkansas because
they blew it.
Arkansas was spotted a 21-7 lead by Oklahoma State going, okay, we have Ollie Gordon, the Heisman running back there. You guys want to have Alan Bowman throw it like 30 times in the first half? And Arkansas still couldn't come away with the win there. If you make Taylon Green play quarterback, you'll win. Just keep Taylon Green in the pocket. He's not going to beat you.
Yeah. That's what we're thinking for Boston College, too. We'll preview that game on Thursday or on Friday. Excuse me. For now, however, we will finish this show out with quick hits. Quick hits time. We're going to finish out the show. Kenny's got a quiz, and it's not the Barstool Trivia quiz. He's put in some effort this week. I'm just kidding, Kenny. What do you have, Ken Sports Shorts?
Yeah, the NFL is back. Unfortunately, our coveted first rounder, Darius Robinson, will not be suited up for the first couple of weeks of the season. But I thought it'd be a good time to kind of look back at some of these first rounders. And we've done this before a little bit with the draft, especially back in April and March. And I thought we could do one more. And then I'll probably get into some other ones in recruiting these next couple of weeks. But the first question, who was the last Mizzou player selected in the first round before Darius Robinson? And then I'll have a follow-up right after that one.
Was it Charles Harris?
Do you have a guess, Jack?
I was gonna say, why am I blanking on his name?
He probably wouldn't have asked you if I was right, though.
Why am I blanking on his name? Not the linebacker.
It wasn't Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton was not a
no,
first
not
rounder.
Nick Bolton. He played for the Niners for forever.
Alden Smith?
Yeah.
No, Charles Harris was drafted after him in the first round.
Or maybe I'm not thinking of Alden Smith. Justin Smith?
Way before.
He was before.
You're thinking of Alden Smith.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Payton was right. Charles Harris, 2017 to the Miami Dolphins.
Ding, ding.
Right on.
There you go. Okay. Second question on here for my trivia this week. Can you name all 6 Mizzou first rounders since 2010? I think you guys can kind of see my screen on the bottom. So if you could just click off of it if you are. But yeah, you want to guess them all from... I'll give you the years, and if you guys need the teams, then we'll go with that.
Okay, well, I think we got
2024.
We got Alden Smith and Charles Harris.
Charles Harris.
Darius Robinson's also in there, so there's 3
Darius
more.
Robinson.
Okay. Blaine Gabbert is 1.
No.
Blaine Gabbert, was he drafted in 09?
Yeah, did I say last 10 years? Is that what I said?
You said since 2010.
Yeah, since 2010. Yeah, he was Oh man,
Was
what
he
is he?
09?
Pretty
Was
sure.
he not a first round pick?
No,
yeah,
he's
he-
2011. Yep.
Okay, so
You're right.
so he was
Okay.
right. So we have 4 of 6.
four. Any of the offensive
Sorry, there's
line?
7.
That's what I'm
Seven
thinking of.
total. Yeah.
I don't think
3
Mitch
more.
Morse was a first rounder. Mitch Morse was a second rounder, so not him. Pretty sure Mitch Morse was a second rounder. There's no receivers in here because Dorial Green Beckham was a head case. There were none in like the kind of dark years from like 15 through 17, other than Harris. Jamon Moore was not a first round pick. There's no corners, absolutely no corners. It almost have to be D linemen. Sean Weatherspoon, was he?
Oh yeah.
No,
Okay.
he was
that's-
2010.
okay. So
Wait,
it's 2011 and now.
Yeah, 2011 now. Sorry, that's what I
Okay.
meant.
It's definitely all D linemen. Coney Ely, no, he was a second rounder. Shane Ray. Shane Ray is one.
correct.
Shane Ray.
2015. The
Michael
Broncos.
Sam was a 7th rounder.
You're only missing one now.
Sheldon Richardson.
Yeah.
Correct. That is the last
Yes.
one. Do you want to guess what team he went to?
Sheldon Richardson was drafted by the Jets.
Correct. 13th overall pick.
He was a
Nice.
JUCO transfer. Believe it or not.
Well done. Well
Four
done.
star.
MIZ.
MIZ. TOU. Nice. All right, Tigers in the Wild. I don't want to let Kenny do this one, but I'm gonna let him do it so that we can see if Peyton has the same reaction to it as I know I have.
Oh my God.
Go, Kenny. What is it?
And he saw.
Yeah,
So I went to a concert on Friday. I saw the Stews, kind of a smaller end indie rock band. I found out before I went that they are Auburn grads, and I thought this would be a kind of a funny thing. During the concert, I told my friend, I was like, "Hey, I know they went to Auburn. Watch this." And I yelled "War Eagle" like in between songs, and the guy yells "War Eagle" back to me through the microphone. So I thought that was pretty cool. But that's Tigers in the Wild because those are former Tigers.
So just not
in
a
the
Mizzou
Wild.
Tiger, just a
That is
different
not
SOTD
the
Tiger.
spirit of the segment, Kenny. That is
Tigers in the
no,
Wild.
and I can tell
Those
you
are
like want to
Tigers.
grin at us.
Those are
But-
Tigers.
He is
in the Wild.
grinning. You
No,
don't
I'm not.
care.
I'm not grinning at all. And that's just Tigers in the Wild.
That's not the
They're
spirit of the segment.
professionals.
That's
We might as
Look,
well just call it rhinos in the wild. We could just make up a new animal.
That
every
doesn't make
week.
any
Dogs
sense.
in the wild.
tigers
These are
of any
tigers.
source. Okay, next time I'm gonna bring a Savannah State tiger. I'm gonna
Yeah.
bring
Okay.
something Shannon.
Do what you
Sharp
want to
This
do.
is-
I'm
this has
doing what
opened
I
up a
do.
This has opened up a can of worms that
Like
I
we
don't
can't
think
go in
we're
reverse
gonna-
course now, but this is in bad faith, Kenny.
I-
and
I
think you know
concur.
that.
I
You guys have
wholeheartedly
never been
concur.
there. It's beautiful.
Nate
God,
Pete
if
didn't
I hear
fumble
you
for you
talk
to
about
name
how
the
pretty
Tigers out in
Auburn
the wild after Auburn.
I'm going to disavow your Mizzou podcast membership.
I'm not going to
You guys
eat.
should listen to the Stews. They're good.
I'm not going to. I actually do want to listen to them, but I'm not going to eat at Whataburger for a week in protest of this because Auburn likes it so much.
I like it so much they gave it 2 stories.
This is shameful. I probably will have it.
It was
this
really
week.
good.
I probably will have it this week. I had it last week. It's very good.
Ugh,
Shame
moving
on you, Kenny. All right, Peyton, save us.
Unfortunately, not many Missouri Tigers are doing much in the NFL in week 1, so I'm going to go ahead and go with Kyle Gibson, who I'm almost certain we've done with Tigers in the Wild before. The St. Louis Cardinals pitcher was being interviewed by the Cat on Valley TV. Kenny, what is that reporter's actual name? There it is, Jim Hayes of Valley Sports Midwest. Kyle Gibson was just messing with him, saying, with you being a KU fan, Hayes comes back and says, nope, I'm not a KU fan. That's fake news. I'm a Mizzou guy. Just 2 Mizzou fans chopping it up about their number 6 team in the nation, talking about how KU lost. Doesn't get much better than that, Kyle Gibson says. So, yeah, Kyle Gibson just showing some school pride for his alma mater.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, we didn't touch on that. KU, Illinois. Shout out the neighbors to the east. Doing a
You almost cannot get much worse than that matchup. He's an idiot.
that got ratioed. Five replies. No bonus ratio of the week.
Bonus
5 replies
ratio. go. But yeah, but no,
Wow,
you
that is an
can't get
ugly
worse
outfit
than an
for that.
Illinois-Kansas matchup. You can. It happened in the Liberty Bowl in 2022. It was Arkansas, Kansas. But yeah, thanks, I guess, Illinois. It still meant Illinois won, and not a huge fan of Illinois, but I don't really care about Illinois in football.
Beal him a ball. Beal him a ball. All right, my Tiger in the Wild. I too am struggling with the lack of Mizzou involvement in the NFL this week. Hopefully that changes. So I'm going to MLB Film Room for my Tiger in the Wild, a site I frequent. Max Scherzer, 4 hitless innings while on rehab assignment in AAA. What are you guys laughing at?
You went
really
a
funny.
site that I frequent.
I do. I love MLB Film Room. I watch a lot of films of MLB on there. Rangers righty Max Scherzer strikes out 8 in 4 hitless innings while on rehab for AAA Round Rock. What's Round Rock's mascot, Kenny?
The Express.
The Express.
I beat Kenny. I beat Kenny.
Actually, you're right. I don't want to ask Kenny these questions anymore because he brought an Auburn Tiger to the
He's
Tiger.
an Auburn fan.
Yeah, now.
Wow, big day for Missouri Tigers and shutouts on Saturday, huh?
Yeah, he
You
also
like that joke I just made up?
Yeah, because I made it. Max Scherzer also had a perfect game going on in his rehab, and he intentionally walked the batter so he could face more because he was just striking out and getting everyone out. So he intentionally walked a guy, got to a righty, got the pitch out of the stretch, plunked him, and then got another out after.
It's like the Paul Skeens thing. Wasn't Paul Skeens saying something about that? He was striking out people too fast.
Yeah, in AAA.
Because he couldn't get good reps in. Oh, another Tiger. Maybe he'll be my Tiger in the Wild next week. An LSU Tiger.
Yeah.
He could also be your bird. He went to Air Force.
Yeah, maybe I'll make Joe Burrow my Tiger in the Wild next week
for playing like shit against the Patriots.
Yeah,
I actually don't know how bad he played, but I saw the Bengals lost.
Maybe I'll make Amare Stoudemire my Tiger in the Wild next week since he coached Pacific once.
I have basically another Tiger in the Wild as my headline, but we'll get to that. All right, headlines, Kenny.
I thought this one was pretty cool. Comes from 247. Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard gives Missouri quarterback Brady Cook secret to beating Texas A&M third down packages. If you didn't know, Riley Leonard and Brady Cook befriended each other at the Manning Passing Academy the last 2 years. Got a little bit closer this past summer, and Brady Cook went on the Paul Feinbaum show and said, I watched Texas A&M and Notre Dame. One thing I noticed is Texas A&M's third down pressure packages and coverage look really, really good. That's something Riley Leonard and I talked about Sunday after the game. He's giving me a couple of tips on what to expect in week 6. I learned a lot. I think this is pretty cool. 2 guys that probably won't face each other this season, but befriended in the college football ranks and giving each other some props on what to do later in the season.
This is great and everything, but quite frankly, that should be the last piece of advice Brady Cook ever takes from Riley Leonard ever again, if NIU is any indication.
I was going to say, it's a little mean for Brady Cook not to return the favor and tell Riley Leonard how to beat a MAC school.
Yeah.
Mrs. Brady Cook had no problem with that.
A&M advice, dude. Here's how to beat Northern Illinois. Here's how to beat Buffalo. Here's how to beat Murray State.
That is cool, though, Kenny.
It is cool, yes.
It is cool.
I did not know that he befriended him at the Manning Passing Academy, so that's cool.
Very nice. All right, Payton.
Headlines. My headline, Tyreek Hill, quote, still trying to process pregame detainment by police. Yes, folks, week 1 Sunday football was back. And it came with Tyreek Hill in cuffs before the game on Sunday. Very insanely weird situation. So it was apparently both him and Calais Campbell, his teammate on the Dolphins. They were just trying to get to the stadium. They were right outside Hard Rock, and they were just pulled over and detained by Miami-Dade cops. It was a very strange situation. Tyreek Hill said he had no idea why he was even put in cuffs. He was released pretty much without incident, and now one of the cops has been put on his administrative leave. There's a whole investigation. Tyreek Hill's legal team, I believe, Mike Florio said before Sunday Night Football, was looking into maybe their legal options. Tyreek Hill made a good point. What if I wasn't Tyreek Hill? What if I was just some person? Very strange situation in general, but Tyreek Hill, I mean, he kind of made the most out of it. He got in the stadium. He scored a 60-yard touchdown like he normally does, and he did a handcuff celebration. So, yeah, very weird situation that is now being handled. But NFL football is back, baby. Let's go. The Bears are 1-0. My Chicago Bears, after a great performance from Caleb Williams to lead a big comeback. Kenny's Texans are 1-0. Knowlton's Seahawks are 1-0. Again, Kenny flashes a Syracuse shirt. I don't know why. He was doing that for Titans punter Ryan Stonehouse, who had a punt blocked and returned for a touchdown.
There you go.
But yeah, Tyreek Hill, very weird situation. Thankfully, it didn't get worse or just escalated in any way. But yeah.
Yeah, there were lots of video of it because obviously it happened right outside of the stadium, and Dolphins fans were driving by being like, "Holy shit, that's Tyreek Hill in handcuffs." So you can see it. Yeah, based on what they were saying was happening, I don't think there was anything that warranted what those cops were doing. That's my take on it. But it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. Yeah, crazy. It reminded me too of the Scotty Scheffler thing in golf a few months ago where he got detained because he didn't know what was happening, tried to drive past. That was crazy too. So yeah, wild start to the NFL season. But yeah, hey, congrats to us. Good job, Payton. We're all 1-0, guys.
Woo! Bear down, Chicago Bears.
Yeah. So Caleb Williams, I watched his post-game interview, Payton. He looked good.
Yeah, he looked awesome. He was really poised. Definitely did not look nervous out there. Looks like a 10-year vet. And really, I mean, you go down 17-0. Caleb Williams' first career start, didn't blink, led a huge comeback. So super good stuff. The future in Chi-Town is looking good.
Kenny, are you upset that you had the new face of the league last year in CJ Stroud, and now he's already been overtaken by Caleb Williams?
Yeah, I'm devastated. Ryan Stonehouse didn't go to Syracuse.
Where'd he go? Oh, was he Colorado State?
He went to Colorado State.
Jack transferred there.
Jack's
That's what it is.
Jack's still there.
Yeah, Jack is still there. Second team
you know
all
what?
CC punter.
Okay, I'm going to grow out a mustache because he has a mustache. I'm going to grow one out until Syracuse loses, and then I won't do facial hair for the rest of the season. How about that?
I like sure.
Nobody said you need to do this.
Sure. I'm going to do it.
Not this up at all.
I'm going to do it. That'll be my my bet. I'll do that.
Seattle managed to
Nobody said you need to make any sort of bet whatsoever. You're just doing this on your own.
I'm going to do it. Starting now.
No, I'll do
all
it.
right,
I'll do
he's
that.
doing it.
You
Folks.
do it with me. With me, Jack.
For who?
For Jack Stonehouse. Your name is Jack.
I have to do it
well.
too. I don't care about Syracuse's punter.
Let's do it together. Come on.
I'm not doing that with you. This is your battle.
I promise you, once he's out, like off Syracuse, I can get him on the show. Promise you that. If you get the
I
mustache.
would like that for that to still happen, regardless of if you make this bet or not.
Do the mustache.
I'm not doing the mustache. I can't grow a mustache. I'm lame. Also, the Seahawks managed to win a football game today in which they had 2 safeties. They gave up 2 safeties. Some texts were exchanged that were not good earlier, but they figured it out. Jackson Smith or Kenneth Walker looks really, really, really good. All right, my headline. I'm going to Memphis. Memphis basketball fires 4 members of Penny Hardaway's coaching staff. This was, I believe, earlier, I think last week, but I wanted to shout it out because, yeah, Memphis, who plays Mizzou in their season opener in men's basketball, might not have any coaches on the sidelines for it with Penny Hardaway. This story is pretty wild. I mean, it's kind of the latest in a saga that has been just all over the place since Penny Hardaway was hired. What year did Penny Hardaway get hired? Do you guys know? I know.
19, I think our freshman year, 19,
2018.
Wow.
He has been their coach for about 5 years, and I swear it is still like his second season. Like I did not realize he's been there for that long. Yeah, there was apparently a letter about violations that may have happened. They've obviously had their problems for a long time with recruiting stuff. They, of course, their most recent one, they had Mikey Williams, who couldn't go because he got in legal trouble and now is at Central Florida. Like it has been a wild roller coaster. There's some good features on ESPN and The Athletic. You can read about the just insides of Memphis basketball, but this is the latest one. They've just fired 4 coaches out of the blue, and there is 2 months until the season, less than 2 months until the start of the basketball season, and they play Mizzou in the opening game. So,
Yeah, Knowlton, we're in the middle of college football season. I don't know why we're talking about this.
because it was Mizzou's first opponent. That was my
I know,
connection.
I'm joking. Do you remember when the NCAA fined James Wiseman?
Yes.
They fined an amateur that they
Yeah.
were not paying.
Yeah.
Um,
Terrible.
no, but really, one of the fun things about one of these coaches that were fired, one of them was Rick Stansbury, who, for one, was the interim coach for Memphis against Mizzou last year for the Mizzou-Memphis game because Penny was serving a suspension for, I think, for more recruiting violations.
Also violations.
And he was also the head coach at Western Kentucky that was able to keep Jamarian Sharp around when it was very rumored that Mizzou very much wanted Jamarian Sharp. So Rick Stansbury, I think, as repayment for Mizzou of Rick Stansbury apparently being a cheater, should be granted the rights and an extra year of eligibility to Jamarian Sharp.
I don't. You still want Jamarian Sharp?
Yes.
Isn't he in the league?
Yeah, he's in the league.
Yeah, I think he's gone.
He's on the Mavericks?
Yeah, he's on. I'm pretty sure that is the correct.
His birthday was the other day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Someone
yes,
said
that's
that to
right.
me.
Yeah. There was a text in about that.
But yeah.
Yeah, also, this is just funny to me because, like, you kind of think, oh, this has all happened under Penny Hardaway, and then you remember that Memphis also had the whole Derrick Rose thing. I think it's just a Memphis thing. I think that program is just shady
Well, if you've
things.
been to their campus, Knowlton, you know no one would go there willingly. So
We did have a discussion about this. That's fair. Mizzou, there was a couple of things mentioned in an article I read that mentioned Laird Veach too, and I was kind of like, oh, better not happen.
we got us a cheater at AD.
You
Huh?
want some corruption?
No, I'm
all right.
kidding. But I mean, realistically, like like Penny Hardaway is still the coach. But I mean, the program is in such turbulence. That would be one way for Dennis Gates to really get the fan base back. I mean, the first night of college basketball, Mizzou goes into Memphis. Like, that is one of the swing games of the year for Mizzou. They get there's no rest for the weary this year. They're gonna there's a bunch of us from a school trip. If you're watching on the YouTube, at Beale Street in Memphis, it's me in the middle there. Kenny's to the left of me. Our good pal Chase Madison is to the left of Kenny. Chase, the guy in the Peter, the guy in the Iowa Hawkeyes shirt, is to my right, and the really short one on the end there is Jack Sobel.
I was hoping that would be the descriptor.
I love how Payton just got the direction wrong on both of those sides.
Yeah,
to his right. I would be to his right.
Well,
Yeah,
if
and
you're
Peter would be
looking
to his
at
left.
YouTube,
Oh,
to
if
the
you-
left of me,
Stage
Yes,
left.
but saying to
Stage
your
left.
right.
Stage
would
left.
be
it's
me.
easier for the viewers to look at it and see I'm saying left to your
They all
left.
comprehended it. They're all going to reply again and then bring up what you said about Miko's last name.
Yeah, you're gonna get
Whatever. Either way.
All right, Peyton, I will use this joke. If you don't want to tell a joke this week, you can yield this time to instead rant about the where.
No, I have a
is
joke.
going. You don't want to.
Here's my joke before we get into ratio, or do ratio first. Let's do ratio.
Okay, yeah, we'll do ratio first. Sorry,
For community.
Kenny,
community
I'll let you do it. Or you
Yeah,
can
it's
see
not
what
even a
I'm gonna do.
ratio. Derek Lively scored a touchdown, and
Derek Lively?
Isaiah Likely. Sorry, Isaiah Likely scored a
He's still
touchdown.
thinking about the Mavs and Jamarian Sharp.
Who is Isaiah Likely, Kenny?
Huh?
Describe Isaiah Likely. Who is he?
Football player?
Isaiah
for our
Likely the what?
the Ravens tight end.
Yeah, he's a tall
Derek
football player.
Lively.
What do you want me to get out of here?
Ravens tight end. You gotta say who it is
yes.
for our listeners.
Yeah. I was talking about that.
Finance
And then
year,
someone-
Isaiah Likely.
Isaiah Likely scored a touchdown. Then he didn't, but the Ravens were too quick with this one. Touchdown OMG. Tune in on NBC. Fish originally ruled a touchdown, ended up not being a touchdown, and it got community noted with no, it wasn't.
Tough beat. Its
Crazy
tweet is still
game.
up. Delete the tweet.
No, you're getting money off this.
Gotta wear it at a certain point. Crazy would have been catch, but his shoe is a bit too Kevin Durant sized, I guess.
Let's not talk about where Nick Bolton was on that play.
Yeah, let's not talk about that Nick Bolton
By
game in general.
players.
But yeah.
All right, Peyton, do you want to yield this time? You were going to talk about game day at the top of the show, and we didn't do it.
Yeah, no, I have a joke.
All right.
This one does not come from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. This one comes from College Game Day themselves. Joke of the week. Columbia, South Carolina, pin emoji. For the first time in 10 years, we're headed to South Carolina for LSU football against...
Can you stop rewinding the Nick Bolton getting juke play?
Yeah, man, I know it's a weak slate. They have to go somewhere. And quite frankly, Mizzou, Boston College isn't the most exciting matchup. But like I said, weak slate. Mizzou is number 6 in the nation. Boston College is number 24 now. They haven't been, game day has not been to Columbia, Missouri in forever. Why on God's green earth are we going to Columbia, South Carolina for a game between 1-1 LSU, who's not going to do anything, and a game between 2-0 South Carolina with a barely win over Old Dominion and a bad Kentucky team? It sucks. I think it's a dumb decision. It's not normally something I get angry about, but this is. I feel like Mizzou was slighted here, quite frankly, if this was going to be the decision.
I agree. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully they can still get Mizzou, at some point later on in the year, but it just sucks. And there were just even outside Mizzou, like there were just better games to go to. Kansas State, Arizona, Oregon State, Washington State. Like,
or the ranked matchup.
Yeah, or the ranked matchup between Mizzou and Boston College. But instead, what's the early line of that? Oh, LSU -7.5. That's not that bad, I guess.
Mizzou is a 15-point favorite. Like, we'll get into that more, but Mizzou was a 15-point favorite I saw when the line opened, and that's already up to 16.
Sheesh. All right. Yeah, it's kind of BS. Thanks for listening. We will be back on Thursday. We're going to do the Boston College preview. We're talking a ranked matchup. That's one thing. If you had told me 3 weeks ago that we would have been previewing Mizzou Boston College as a ranked game, I would definitely not have believed you. But the Eagles got some fun players. We're going to talk about it. Until then, enjoy the week. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you on Friday. See you on Friday. I keep getting the recording time that we do versus with the actual upload time. We'll see you on Friday. Bye.